Welcome to the Pure Adrenaline Fantasy Sports YouTube channel, and welcome to Week 2 of the NFL and fantasy seasons. I'm John. I'm here with Sean again to kick off Thursday Night Football. Sean, how are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you, John?
Good, doing all right. How'd your fantasy teams do last week, and how'd your NFL team do?
Pretty good. My fantasy teams did pretty good. My NFL team lost in overtime.
Yeah, that's not good. Nah, Jets lost. My fantasy team lost. Not a good start to the season. But now we're heading into Week 2, and we have the Giants going up against the Washington football team. And before we get into tonight's game, let me start. But first off, let me apologize to Sean. Last week, I told him he was overhyping the Cleveland Browns, and they had no shot to beat Kansas City. Now, Kansas City won the game, but for 58 and a half minutes, Cleveland had the lead in that game and took a turnover late for Kansas City to win that game. So sorry about that, Sean. You were right on the money.
It's all right. I still think Cleveland's gonna have a shot this year.
Yeah, absolutely. After the way they played in watching the game, Kansas City has no defense. No. So
and they're much improved defense. Even it didn't even improve.
Yeah. Well, and Honey Badger didn't play, did he?
He played, I think, only half minutes because he came right off the COVID list on Sunday morning.
Gotcha.
So I don't think he was fully 100%, but I mean, they improved their offensive line. I don't think Mahomes got sacked all game.
Yeah, I don't think so. To kick off Week 2, we have the Giants and the Washington football team. Like I said, both teams lost their home openers last week. The Giants lost to the Broncos, and Washington lost to the Chargers. Giants lost 27-13, and Washington lost 20-16. Injuries, man. Fitzpatrick got hurt and is out for, I believe, 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, with a hip.
Yeah, he elected not to get surgery. I don't know why he wouldn't get surgery, but
I think at his age, I don't think he wants to have surgery at this late. I think if he comes back and he can be a bench player, I think that's all he's going to be content with at this point. I mean, probably his last hurrah anyways.
Yeah. Between the two teams, the Giants have actually won the last five meetings. But I think that ends tonight. I think Washington will win. I think it'll be a low-scoring game. Washington should win around 21-17, something like that.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be no high-scoring game like last Thursday for sure. But I mean, I could see like a 24 like 17 game or something, or 24-21 even. Come down to like a field goal probably to win it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Diving right into some of the players for the Giants. I have Daniel Jones ranked 32nd quarterback this week. Not even worth considering. First off, he's probably not on most fantasy teams anyway. But if Daniel Jones is your starting fantasy quarterback, you should just stop playing fantasy football.
Or you got way too many positions in your fantasy team, unless you have 32 players in fantasy.
Yeah, there are some leagues that do use two quarterbacks in a league.
Yeah, there is. I wouldn't consider him. I mean, he's great with yardage a game. You'll get a lot of yards out of him, but you're going to lose a lot with interceptions and fumbles with him. I read a stat after Sunday's game, 40 turnovers in 28 career games already. He's averaging almost 1.3 turnovers a game, I believe it is.
That's incredible.
And I think he has. I think they said there's only nine or 10 of those games where he doesn't have a turnover or something. They said it's like a quarter of the games. I believe they said was like one without a turnover.
Incredible. And going up against Washington's defense, they're going to put a lot of pressure on him.
If he can limit the turnover game, I think he'll be a good pocket quarterback that could be mobile. He reminds me of like Tony Romo, where Tony Romo had a lot of turnovers in his career, Daniel Jones, I think, has that path going right down to where he can put up great yards and great stats, but means nothing if you're losing and turning the ball over a lot.
Absolutely. Now, before up until this morning, I had Saquon ranked as the 16th ranked running back this week, which would have been most leagues start 2 running backs. So even in a 10-team league, he would have been worth a start. But now I have him ranked 22nd, and he's still questionable. So keep an eye out for any news right before the game. I have Twitter open right now at the moment, seeing if they say anything. But do you think he's worth a spot, even if he's questionable?
I don't think so. I don't think it's worth starting because the Giants have already said that they're not ready to unleash him yet fully to his capability of 100%. He still said he's not 100% from the torn ACL last year in week 2 or week 3, I think it was. So I probably wouldn't say until probably a week 4 or 5 you won't see him 100% out there for 80% of the snaps like he would have last year up until his injury.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, usually in any career games he's played against Washington, he's actually had been pretty dominant.
Oh, absolutely. I think in his 5 career games against Washington, I think it's almost like 700 combined yards. So he typically goes off against them. I mean, it is Washington defense, but it's hard to say I'd want to start him tonight, knowing you might get a really bad game out of him. Point wise, you might only get 5-6 points again, like you did last week. But you mean if they get in the red zone 1-2 yard line, Saquon's coming in and he's going to push that pile in. So he could get you a quick touchdown if they get into a red zone quick. But you're asking for a lot, and you're going out on a limb really far for a possibility of him not getting a touchdown.
Yeah, absolutely. But like I said before, Washington will be putting pressure on Daniel Jones. So I would stay away from any of the Giants wide receivers tonight. Also,
yeah, the only one I would consider would be Sterling Shepard because he has the capability of making his own routes. But other than that, I wouldn't start Galladay or Slayton. Galladay's still new to that offense, so he's not gonna be trusted 100% getting the football. And Slayton is a second-year guy. He's not the main guy they're going to throw to. They're going to more or less throw to Shepard and Galladay and get them the ball.
Right. Now Shepard and Galladay, I do have at 40 and 42, which would be right on the outside of even a flex spot. So it's really not unless one of them breaks a big play. I mean, which you can't really project somebody breaking a big play. But yeah, like we said, not worth putting in your lineups today. And that goes for the Giants tight ends as well. Kyle Rudolph, and I'm not even sure who Caden Smith is. But
I think Caden Smith's like a second-year guy, practice squad player.
Stay away from the Giants kicker, Graham Gano. I have him ranked as the 27th ranked kicker this week. It's going to be a low-scoring game, so he might get some field goals, but Giants are only going to get 1 touchdown and a field goal, maybe 2 field goals.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust the kicker tonight for them.
I do like the Giants' defense tonight, going up against Heineke. Heineke's only making his third career start, but is only his second regular season career start.
Yeah, the Giants' defensive line could get a possibility, a few sacks for you, maybe a fumble, with Heineke being under the pressure of it second career regular season start. But I mean, he did go up against the Buccaneers defense last year in the playoffs when they won it. So I mean, he might not feel much pressure knowing that he ran all over them and threw all over them last year and almost won that game in Washington.
Yeah, I believe it was 31 or 30 to 23, something like that.
Yeah, it was. I think it was only a 7-point game. It came down to the Bucks having the ball last, and if they could have stopped them, have a chance.
Yeah, actually, I looked it up. He went 26 of 44, 306 yards, a touchdown, an interception, and actually he ran the ball 6 times for 46 yards as well. So
Yeah, and he had,
I didn't realize he had that threat of being able to run. That's almost 8 yards a run there.
Yeah, and he also had that he dove from like the 5-yard line last year when in the playoffs where he hit the pylon for the touchdown in that game.
Scroll up. Let's go over to the Washington team. Going down the list, definitely start Gibson. I have him as the 8th ranked wing back this week.
Yeah, no doubt. You start him. He's their number one. He not only you're going to get rushing, but you're also going to get the reception side of the ball from Heineke giving it to him from out of the backfield there. So I would definitely start Gibson, no doubt, as a RB2 at least.
Yeah, and McKissick only if you're in a deeper league, maybe 12, 14 teams, and as a flex spot.
Yeah,
I mean, he'll get some catches out of the backfield as well.
Yeah, after last week, seeing that he only had, I think, 1 reception for like 4 yards, I would even, if you have a better possibility of putting someone else up as a flex, I would definitely want to flex someone else and not risk it on a Thursday night football game right off the bat. If this was a Sunday night game and you had a chance of flexing him in there, I mean, I would risk that. But opening Thursday night football, I don't know if I'd want to put that possibility of him having a really bad game in there.
Heading over to the wide receivers, I only have Terry McLaurin worth putting in your fantasy lineup this week. Have him ranked 17th, and the next highest guy I have is ranked 83rd.
Yeah, Terry McLaurin's an automatic almost starter in every league. He's a big name threat. He can run the routes and get open and running around, and you have a good chance of getting a touchdown out of him, especially in the red zones.
And I like Logan Thomas, the tight end, as well. I have him as the 9th ranked tight end this week. It's great. I like this matchup a lot, and he's going to be a safety valve for Heineke.
Yeah, I have Logan Thomas actually in 2 of my fantasy leagues, and he's definitely worth starting. And you're definitely going to get those red zone catches and the 3rd and short opportunities where he can run a quick out route and get a quick pass and might be able to gain upfield and get a few yards actually.
Yeah, I'd stay on heading over to Washington's defense and special teams. I'd stay away from Hopkins.
Yeah, I wouldn't start either kicker tonight. There's plenty of other opportunities out there for a kicker probably in leagues that you're guaranteed to get more points.
Let's see. We have a question from Chris. Chris, thanks for the question. Who should I start out my flex this week? Saquon, Antonio Brown, Damian Harris, or Elijah Mitchell? Well, let's go. I'm working on this new tool here to match up fantasy players. Let's see here. Let's compare. Scroll down. I'm still trying to work out where I can share this and make so people I can send the link out and people can do this themselves to look to see what not only my projections are, but they can compare up to 6 running backs and wide receivers all in the same column. So let's see. We got Saquon Barkley, Antonio Brown, Damian Harris. Harris is going against the Jets. But I heard Belichick's upset with Harris. I believe he fumbled in a key spot in that Miami game.
Yeah, he's the one that lost that late 4th quarter fumble in the red zone.
So now points wise, I actually have Antonio Brown projected to score the most fantasy points at 15. But comparing all the players between yards, possibility of touchdowns, it's telling me to start Damian Harris, which I do like, even though Belichick's a little disappointed. Going up against the Jets, and they can't stop the run.
Yeah, if it was me, I would probably want to start Antonio Brown just because it's Tom Brady throwing the football to him. And you have the possibility of also getting like a jet sweep run around with Antonio Brown down there to maybe get some yards for rushing, especially after he won off in week 1 last week. I think you would, if it was me, I would say Antonio Brown probably has the most upside and the possibility of getting 75 to 100 yards plus a touchdown, especially against the Atlanta defense who couldn't stop a nosebleed against Philadelphia last week.
Yeah. Yep. So it's interesting to look at this and how that works. Because Antonio Brown, I mean, I have him projected at five catches, almost 70 yards, and about 50% chance of scoring a touchdown. But like you said, Brady just spreads the ball around to everybody, and they score a ton of points every week.
Yeah, I mean, you got I think 6 or 7 people down there that can catch the football and get 100 yards at possibility every week, passing or rushing.
So out of the 4, I would narrow it down to Brown and Harris, Chris. Keep an eye on what Harris is doing, see if he's starting, or if they bench him or don't let him start. I would definitely go with Antonio Brown. But
yeah. Plus, with New England, Belichick's very big on running backs. So you could have a guy that could break out 1 week and have 300 yards rushing, and he could bench him the next week because he didn't like something he did in practice. I believe he did that to one of their running backs a few years ago. He had like 2 back-to-back weeks of like 150 yards rushing, and he got upset at him in practice and actually gave him 1 touch the whole game and made him sit on the bench. So Belichick's very big on being up close and making sure you're on point with everything, or else you could find your way to a bench and possibly off the team.
Chris says, okay, thanks for the help. Chris, you're welcome. Chris, if you're new here, hit that like and subscribe button, please. We go live every Thursday at 7 o'clock before the Thursday night game. And then on Sundays, we go live at 11:30. Just to give some updates on our projections before the network pregame show go live. Last week we had a bunch of guys ask some questions. We almost went up right to right about 12:30. So thanks again. Getting back to the game tonight, the last spot we have is Washington. I have the Washington football team as the number 1 ranked fantasy / defense / special teams this week.
Yeah, you're going against Daniel Jones. You definitely want to start anybody that's playing against a team that has a lot of turnover ratio coming out of it. So, and when you got a defensive line like with Chase Young and Montez Sweat, you could definitely get a lot of sacks and pressures and make turnovers happen as well.
Let's go back to who did the Vikings have this week?
The Vikings played the Cardinals.
The Cardinals, home or in Arizona?
They are in Arizona.
Arizona, yeah. I'm going to bring up the schedule, the whole schedule here. Some of the games that interest me this week is definitely being a Jets fan. I'm definitely interested in the Buffalo-Miami game. But Buffalo led 10-0 at home and ended up losing that game to Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
where Miami went into New England and held on to win there.
Yeah, years ago you wouldn't even think of people going to New England and winning in there. It was crazy.
Yep.
But I think seeing Mac Jones play for the first time, I think New England has a lot of optimism for their future.
Any of the other games besides the Viking games? Any of the other games you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I think the Sunday night football game, definitely. You got 2 high-powered offenses going at each other with two defenses that we thought would be better, and week one they showed that they'd give up 30-plus points. So it's going to be interesting to see how those games turn out. The other game I actually am interested in is the Cowboys and Chargers game. It's just interesting to see how two, I would say not two high-powered offenses, but a high-powered offense versus a pretty good defense with the Chargers there. I want to see how Dak is with that back-to-back weeks playing a good defense. Last week he lit up the Bucs and showed that the Bucs looked like the Bucs had no defense out there the way Dak was throwing for 400 yards. So I want to see how that is, and I also want to see how Herbert is with fans in the stands for the first time, being in LA.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's his first game with fans at his home stadium, so it'll be interesting to see. Ever since he left college, he's yet to play with fans. And
Dallas, I know Dallas was gotten in that shootout with Tampa Bay, but they have to get Zeke. They have to get Zeke to Baltimore. Their defense got worn out.
That offensive line was, I don't know if they were just hurt or because of COVID and injuries, but I think Zeke's longest run was like 8 yards of rushing, I think, that whole game. There was no trust in handing him the ball. Even their backup, I think Pollard only had like 8 carries for like 3 or 4 yards. It wasn't very much.
Yeah, some of the other games I'm interested in, San Francisco against Philadelphia. That'll be a good matchup.
Yeah, San Francisco walked away in Detroit with a lucky win, I would say, because their team did not want to show up in the fourth quarter. They almost blew a 21-point lead there in the fourth. They had the chance to win the game there with like a minute to go, and he fumbled the football and gave it right up to Detroit. And I thought right there Jared Goff was going to say week one we're going to go out and win the game after being down 3 scores.
If we want the ball, we're going to win.
We want the ball and we're going to win again, and it looked like that was going to happen, but San Francisco barely escaped that, and there wasn't much optimism on that being. I mean, if you're a Niners fan, your team looked great on offense, but the defense did not prove anything. And if you're a Lions fan, well, I don't know many Lions fans.
Yeah, I don't know if I know any Lions fans either.
And if you're a Lions fan, you have been a Lions fan through a lot of many bad years.
Yep. Yeah, as a Jets fan, I know Detroit's never been to a Super Bowl, and people are like, well, at least the Jets have been to a Super Bowl. Well, it was back in the 60s, so calm down. But and they have been bad over the last 30 some odd years. A couple good seasons mixed in doesn't make everything okay.
I honestly I watched some of the Detroit game on Sunday. Their offense isn't bad. I just think that Detroit needs to get Jared Goff a big name threat on offense. DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams from the running back position, I mean, they put up, I think, almost half their yards rushing and receiving wise. So if you can get him another major threat to throw to other than Hawkinson, I think it'll help him. I mean, look what he did in LA. He took I think it was a 2-win team when he came there and took them to the playoffs their first year and then ended up going to a Super Bowl even. So, I mean, I think Jared Goff has a lot of potential. I thought he had a lot of potential in LA. I just think that something happened there, that something caused some friction, that someone wasn't happy anymore with either McVay or their ownership and Goff. So I think him being in Detroit, I think he can prove himself as a starting quarterback and that he could take a really bad team and either win a bunch of games or be really bad.
Another game I'm interested in is Vegas going into Pittsburgh. Vegas, first off, Pittsburgh trailing 10-0 in Buffalo in the first half, comes back to win that game. But then Vegas, honestly, that Monday night game is one of the best Monday night football games I've ever watched.
And Pittsburgh also only had 54 yards of offense up to halftime in that game.
Wow.
I think they had 1 first down and 54 yards of offense the whole first half. And I think it was that way all the way up until halfway through the third quarter, and then Buffalo, for some reason, started saying they wanted to go for it on third and long and throwing it up and fourth and long. And instead of just punting a team that had no offensive momentum, they just kept giving them the ball at midfield.
Well, I was watching the Jet game, and you texted me on Sunday. You're like, why is Buffalo keep going for it on fourth down?
Yeah, they're 0 for 4. And 2 of them, I think, was over 15 yards almost. I'm like, I was watching it, and it was just mind-blowing to watch because you're playing a Pittsburgh defense that is going to get you a lot of pressure. And another statistic for the Pittsburgh defense, they can actually tie the Detroit Lions' 1986 record, 86 and 87, I think it was, and 88 for 86 straight games with a sack this weekend if they get one.
Wow.
They were one game away, so they could tie it this week if they get one against Derek Carr, which you got a pretty good chance with Derek Carr.
Yeah, and round out the week, like you said, Kansas City going into Baltimore.
Yeah.
I know it's early in the year, but Baltimore, this has got to feel like a must-win game for Baltimore.
Yeah, you got to get after the falling apart in the fourth quarter late, and then overtime against Oakland, or not Oakland, Las Vegas, should I say? They gotta go out and they gotta try to prove themselves. I mean, you can't go in there and get demolished on Sunday Night Football and have back-to-back primetime games and you lose bad games. What hurts them is they have a lot of players being injured. They have a running back core that they can't trust. Lamar isn't the only player that can lead the whole team. I think Monday night, Mark Andrews, who is their obviously number one guy, had 3 catches for 20 yards, which is mind-blowing for a big guy that Lamar has trusted for 2 years.
And to end week 2, it's Detroit going into Green Bay. Now I have no clue what happened to Green Bay against the Saints. I thought Green Bay would have won that game, but they just didn't show up. I don't know if the Saints. I didn't look good enough at the Saints, or to me, it kind of looks like Aaron Rodgers does not want to be in Green Bay.
Yeah, that game. Well, the Saints played a lot of mind games right off the bat. Aaron Rodgers is winless in the state of Florida, and they picked that stadium on purpose. And in the high humidity, Aaron Rodgers isn't really used to playing in high humidity, and when he plays out of Wisconsin, and all the stadiums are either in really cold areas where he mostly plays or in domes because of playing in a division with 2 dome stadiums. But I think after the first quarter or second quarter where he had 2 interceptions already and they were down multiple scores, he couldn't trust a running game, and they were triple teaming Devonta Adams. So he really was just, I think, just throwing wind to the air and hoping it would stick to something, and it wasn't. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's the first time I've ever seen Aaron Rodgers benched the start of a fourth quarter ever in a game.
Yeah, I've never seen that either.
Especially for a defending MVP, him to go and have 0 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. He threw 5 interceptions, I think, all of last year or something.
Yeah. Yep. He did. I don't know. Going into the season, I believe he had the lowest interception ratio for any quarterback career.
Yeah, and then he threw that. But I think if you are a Packers fan and you got to see Jordan Love in a regular season game, I guess you know what your future is going to look like. But, I mean, for a fourth quarter, he only had 88 yards and he had a fumble.
Yeah.
It's not optimistic, but
that's a lot of pressure too. I mean, they were down big, so
yeah, he didn't
you don't really expect much anyway.
Yeah,
they're not gonna give up the big passing play.
Yeah, they were playing prevent defense pretty much, and he had nobody out there with him. He had the backup running back and the backup receivers, and you can't ask much out of a guy that's not going to he couldn't even play with a single starter.
Let's dive into. Let's go through some of these positions here. Start with the defensive and special teams. I have Washington and the Giants both in the top 10 tonight. Like it's going to be low scoring, I believe. But let's go through them. We got Washington, the Rams, 49ers, Bucks, Browns, Giants, Cardinals, Bears, Patriots, and Saints. Any of these matchups you're looking at and you're like, yep, if I need a defense, I'm picking that team up and I'm starting them this week.
Absolutely. Again, Arizona against my Minnesota Vikings, you're going to get at least 5 sacks, probably an interception, possibly even a fumble or two. Kirk Cousins proved that against a very bad Cincinnati team, he got sacked, I think it was 5 times. They had a fumble. He didn't throw an interception, but they just proved that for an offense that should be high-powered, they weren't able to do very much.
Is there any other teams that I might not have in the top 10 that you're thinking, yeah, that's a good matchup this week. They should be ranked a little higher.
Looking at the list here, I would say the Philadelphia Eagles against the San Francisco 49ers. Against a team that you could get a few interceptions out of Jimmy G or Trey Lance, depending who's in the game. You could get a couple sacks here and there. The Niners might put up enough points, but they also lost their main running back already for the season. So you got a rookie running back, and you got, I believe it's 2 second-year guys, and then they just picked up someone off a practice squad out of Baltimore. So you could get a good game out of possibly, I would say, if anyone, the Philadelphia Eagles down there.
Absolutely. Switching over to kickers. The 2 kickers tonight, like we went through, I wouldn't start any of them in any leagues, but my top 10, I have Suckup, Prater, Boswell, Myers, Butker, Tucker, Crosby, McManus, Bass, Santos, Zerline, and McLaughlin. Zerline, you got to be careful with Zerline. He likes to miss.
Yeah, he proved that week 1. They could have won that game with ease. I think it was, 2 field goals he missed and an extra point. They could have had 7 points on the board.
Right.
Never even had a chance to lose. Kicking positions, though, the kicking position is very hard position to pick for. It could be, you could have a guy that could go out and get 0 points, even negative points if he misses. And you could have a guy that could go out and get you 24 points, possibly just kicking field goals all day. I think last year I had Bass for the Buffalo. I think I had him for 1 game, and they kicked 6 field goals, and 3 of them are like 40-plus yards. It's like you could get really good points, or you could get really bad points.
Switch over to tight ends. Oh, of course, the guys always at the top of the list. Kelsey, Waller, Kittle, Andrews. Usually Andrews. He had a bad Monday night game. Hawkinson. Now Gronkowski is in the top 10 this time. Fant for the Broncos. Pitts for the Falcons. Logan Thomas tonight. Higbee, who I absolutely love, for the Rams. Goddard and Jared Cook for the Chargers. Is there anybody that's in the top 10, like 7 through 10, that you're like, no, that guy shouldn't be there, and Austin Hooper or somebody else should be in the top 10?
Kyle Pitts. I just don't think the Atlanta offense is ready for him yet to be ready out there to go have big games yet. He could get you a touchdown or so. One person I would keep an eye on that's below your list there is either Jannu Smith or Hunter Henry in New England. They both, I think, played all but 6 snaps. I think there's 6 or 8 snaps combined on their Sunday game, and they both, I think, had 6 to 8 catches, and they had 40-plus yards. So they're definitely playing a tight end by committee there. They have a lot of two tight end plays they use. Another person that could have a big game is Gerald Everett in Seattle versus Titans. They're going to probably, if you watching the Arizona game and them destroying Tennessee, I could see Tennessee is going to probably double team Hopkins, or not Hopkins. Like they have double team Hopkins, they're going to double team either Lockett or Metcalf. So you could get some possible tight end plays with Gerald Everett.
Yeah, I just highlighted them on the screen there.
So
I haven't projected 3 catches, 30 yards. But
yeah, if you got any of those guys in the top 12, they're a guaranteed starter almost. Especially if you have a Kelsey, Waller, Kittle, or Hawkinson even. Hawkinson, I think you'll see a lot of big games out of him this year. He is gonna definitely prove himself this year, I think, as a top 3 tight end.
Yeah, absolutely. Jumping over to wide receivers. I still have Devonta Adams ranked number 1, even though nothing happened last week. Hill, Hopkins, Diggs, Keenan Allen, Cooper, Metcalf, Ridley, Lockett, A.J. Brown, Chris Godwin, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Cooper Kupp. Any of these guys that are way too high?
I wouldn't say they're really too high. The wide receiver position's really hard position to pick from. Just looking at the list here, that people that could possibly jump up and possibly shake up the top positions. I keep my eye on Will Fuller in Miami, coming back from 6-game suspension from last year to this year. He missed week 1, so I keep an eye on him. I feel like Tua could throw to him a lot, and I'd also just keep an eye on the Houston wide receivers with Brandon Cooks.
Yes.
And he had I think it was like a 105-yard game week 1 against the Jaguars defense. So I feel like he could have a really good game.
Yeah, going up against Cleveland, I do have Cooks getting about 5 catches for about 70 yards and about a 30% chance of touchdown. Now, I know it's only 1 week, but Cleveland is the 31st ranked team against wide receivers.
They did give up 197 yards to the guy called Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, so
I mean, they call him the Reek Freak for a reason.
Let's jump. Oh, go ahead.
This year I saw a stat. The NFL to break the all-time receiving record, you need 117 yards a game average. That record, I believe, will be smashed by week 14 this year.
By week 14, so even before the cutoff of what would have been a.
I think you're going to see a lot of high-powered receiving games this year. I feel like just watching week 1, I think there was 10 guys with over 140 yards. I believe it was, or something, week 1, which is just mind-blowing when you got a lot of big-name cornerbacks and safeties out there in the NFL nowadays to have that many top guys having big-name catches. And that's not even guys like, you're not counting Devonta Adams. You're not counting your big-name guys like that didn't get that many yards. I don't believe Metcalf had 100 yards. McLaurin didn't. Odell Beckham didn't even play. Yeah. So there's a lot of big name guys that didn't even get 100 yards that could have gotten 100 yards possibly.
I know Beckham's a big name and a good wide receiver, but actually Cleveland's been better since he's been out.
Yes. But when he's in that offense, Jarvis Landry definitely gets the ball a lot more in his hands. And same with the tight end, Austin Hooper.
Yeah. Jumping over to running backs here, the same names always at the top of the list of McCaffrey, Kamara, Cook, Chubb, Jones. Jones will have a bounce back game. Henry, going up to Seattle, that's always a tough place to play. Eckler, Gibson, Harris, Carson. I know there's people that love Carson. I'm not a big fan, but he's in there. Swift. Is there anybody up there that's like, yeah, that's too tough of a matchup?
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor playing LA.
Mm.
It's that one. That one is definitely a hard one to pick. Same with Josh Jacobs against Pittsburgh. I don't think you'll see a big game out of them. Two players I could see jumping up there to have good games is Tyson Williams in Baltimore. If he gets the carries, I could see him having a really good game. And the same could be said about if it's hard to say with this one in Houston, Mark Ingram. He had majority of the carries in week 1, but you have a lot of big name guys down there on 1-year contracts to prove themselves. So it's hard to say with that one, but I would definitely go with Tyson Williams.
Yeah, absolutely. Going up against Kansas City, they can't stop anybody.
Yeah, you're going to get a lot of rushing, and I mean, he had a pretty good week 1 for a first career start, I guess, in the NFL.
Yeah, and who's your other one? Ingram, you said?
I would say Mark Ingram.
Yeah, let me bring him up. Who going up against Cleveland now? I haven't projected just on the outside of even using him as a flex spot.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, another player that he wasn't active week 1 is Trey Sermon in the Niners. He hasn't played an NFL career game yet, so besides preseason, so it's hard to say. He could have a big name game, but he also could have a really low game.
And Philadelphia does have a good defense, so
but it's San Francisco. They have so many running backs. They could use him as a receiver even. They've proven that with Mostert when he is healthy, and Tevin Coleman, he was there. Even when Frank Gore was there, they use a lot of running backs as a receiver out of the backfield. They would rather throw it than run it.
Yeah, so let's switch over to quarterback here, our last position of the night. The normal names again. I actually have when I first did them on Tuesday and I shared them with you. I actually had Brady at number 1, but I told you things will change, and I actually have Brady at number 2 now, which is still a must start. But Mahomes, Brady, Allen, Wilson, Murray. I got Herbert jumped up this week going up against Dallas. Rodgers coming off the bad game. Lamar Jackson's going to get you all kinds of fantasy points. Is there a guy that's not in the top 12 here that you're like, yeah, this is a good matchup? Put him in your lineup.
There's two. Well, one's on the edge and one's the outside. Jalen Hurts. I definitely could see him having a big game again because you have the possibility of him getting a rushing touchdown and getting you a lot of rushing yards and passing yards. And Matthew Stafford.
Guys, right there on the bubble. Yep.
Matt Stafford has a very, very lot to prove in LA. He proved that in week 1. I mean, I think week 1 he had 3 50-yard plus catches for touchdowns, I think it was, or something, that first time in his career. And he played with a guy called Megatron.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Who had, I think a 300-yard game that one time in his career in Philly.
Yeah, I believe so.
So, I mean, for him never to have a statistic like that, I think Matt Stafford has the weapons to take LA to a possible deep run in the playoffs this year. If he can keep his playoff hype down a little, though, because, he's never been past week 1, so.
Let me just check Twitter here real quick to make sure we don't have any questions. Last week I missed a question. Somebody posted a message on Twitter and I missed it during the show, so I just wanted to double check. I'll be back Sunday at 11:30. Sean, will you be joining me on Sunday?
Yeah, I should be here.
Okay, good. Any other thoughts before we log off here?
No. Just keep an eye on your healthy and unhealthy players and your lineups. With COVID, I mean, there's a possibility of people getting injured up until the game with it. So just keep an eye on that sort of thing.
Yeah, and if anybody watching, in the description there is a link That'll take you to the pages here where it shows all our projections. So click on those. Like I said, tonight I have Washington winning. Sean, what do you think?
I think Washington wins. I think it's a really close game now. Washington always plays it, and Washington and New York always play the close division games, even when they play the Eagles and the Cowboys. So I think Washington wins 24-21.
Yeah, that's close. Yeah, I said 20, like 21, 14, 21, 17, somewhere in that range. So good luck this week to everybody in fantasy, and good luck to your NFL teams. And we'll see you Sunday morning.
See you on Sunday, guys.